this half hour is going to be dominated by discussion of something that I haven't been talking about nearly enough. That is the race for U.S. Senate that's taking place in Wisconsin, of course, in 2016. Incumbent Ron Johnson being challenged by former senator, the man he defeated in 2010, Russ Feingold. There are two key issues on which we are going to call out Russ Feingold. Let's start with an ad that I know it's running in the Green Bay television market. I don't know what other markets throughout the state it's running in. It is from the Wisconsin Alliance for Reform. I know it's running in the Green Bay TV market. Here is the audio from that ad.
You will forget everything you know. Forget the 278 times I voted to increase taxes. Forget I voted to give amnesty to illegals. And forget I voted against raises for the military 15 times. Forget that I was the deciding vote on Obamacare.
Wake up, Wisconsin. Tell Russ Feingold we can't forget his 18-year liberal voting record.
That ad produced a rather immediate and visceral response from the kids at Politicrap, Wisconsin. In fact, that ad so incensed them that they put out a tweet. New TV ad says Russ Feingold was Obamacare deciding vote. We've rated that mostly false. And then they link to a PolitiFact thing they did back in August, I believe it was. So look, we've already rated as mostly false the notion that Russ Feingold cast the deciding vote for Obamacare. You know, there's another source for that claim. This is interesting, that Politicrap so quickly knee-jerk ran to defend Russ Feingold because Earl's got another piece of audio I want him to play here. There is another source. There's another source out there that says Russ Feingold was the deciding vote on Obamacare.
Understands this issue. I'm astonished to hear that Mr. Johnson toured there because he obviously wasn't paying attention. I was there several times at Gunderson Lutheran and Mayo. You know what they told me? We want you to pass that health care bill. Not only was I the deciding vote for the health care bill.
No. Joining us now to discuss this is Chris Martin from the Wisconsin Alliance for Reform. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Is there any way PolitiFact can wiggle out of this? Is Feingold, he said, I voted for the health care bill. Is he talking about a previous health care bill and not Obamacare? I'm just looking for any way they can try to justify this.
No, he's talking about Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act that he was the top surrogate for in the state. You might remember him going around to different counties to these listening sessions and town halls, such as Waukesha, talking about the benefits that it would provide us and the fact that, if you like your health care plan, you can keep it, which, you might want to remind folks that was the PolitiFact lie of the year when Obama said that. And yes, so it was Obamacare.
This is important, I think, because, Chris, their knee-jerk response to this, and I blogged on this, as you know, yesterday. Yesterday I blogged on this, and the PolitiFact they linked to doesn't even deal directly with this issue. It's a claim, a broader claim about voting for the largest tax increase in history. They were so desperate to knock you down on this, they went fishing for anything they could throw up on Twitter.
And it's interesting because they actually put the wrong link in there. There is a PolitiFact that they did on Ron Johnson a few months ago, making the claim that Russ Feingold was the deciding vote on Obamacare. That was made by Ron Johnson, I think around the same time as the claim they linked to, which was on higher taxes. So they actually linked to the wrong claim in the tweet.
I was unaware of that. That tells you how desperate they were to get something out there on Twitter. No, we said that was wrong. We got to find that one. And in their rush, they actually found the wrong one. And
it's a little ironic because the claim that they linked mistakenly was a claim made by the NRSC saying that Russ Feingold voted for one of the largest tax increases in history. Mm-hmm. They gave that mostly false as well, but that was Obamacare. Obamacare was one of the largest tax increases in American history.
Right. That's exactly right as well. Also yesterday, and I'm going to spend more time on this after you and I part ways, but I have some information, but you actually brought this up, and several people have. The rank hypocrisy when it comes to national security from Russ Feingold. Now he seems very worried about it, in fact, you shared a piece yesterday, Feingold against increased intel efforts before he was for them. Now that there's a clear and present danger from ISIL, all of a sudden he's Mr. National Security. He's Mr. We need more intel. What a load of crock that is.
Well, let's talk about who Russ Feingold really is, because I think it's important to understand that the Russ Feingold running today in 2015 and 16 is much different than the Russ Feingold of the 90s. Washington really changed him. So on national security, Russ Feingold voted 15 times, as the ad mentioned, for lower pay for our military men and women. Russ Feingold voted against going to Iraq. Russ Feingold voted, he was the only senator to vote against the Patriot Act to gather intelligence. So down the line, just hypocrisy left and right.
I think that's probably the most important element of your message because, as you know, Chris, in the last, since Friday night, however many hours that is, 96 or whatever hours, since that moment in Paris, the presidential race has been turned on its head. National security is going to be more important than ever. Protecting America is going to be more important than ever. And clearly that's going to be the case now in the U.S. Senate races around the country. And as you're illustrating here, that creates a real problem for Russ Feingold.
And it plays into a larger narrative about who Russ Feingold has become. The fact that he spent so long in Washington, too long in my opinion, that turned him into such a raging hypocrite. The fact that he created this dark money PAC after railing against that type of thing for years in the Senate. The fact that he took $100,000 from a big Washington lobbying firm after years ago saying he would never even accept a cup of coffee from a lobbyist. And then finally, some of your listeners might remember this. He aired an ad back in the 90s that was called his garage door promises to Wisconsin. Well, one of those promises was that he would raise most of his campaign money in the state. Well, according to his latest finance reports, the vast majority of his money is coming from outside the state, from places like Hollywood and Washington.
I think this is important because I hear from way too many conservatives that they don't think there's any difference between the Republican incumbent and Russ Feingold. And I want to make, they need to be aware of something. And Chris, I'm guessing you are. The comments from very liberal U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein saying, look, I disagree with the president. ISIS isn't contained. We are in grave danger, and we're in risk of being attacked. Dianne Feinstein, for crying out loud, Chris, sounds like a radical right-winger war hawk compared to Russ Feingold.
Well, this is spelling a lot of trouble, and I don't know, you may have seen President Obama's speech in France. I think it was yesterday, but that really made me sad for my country. The fact that he had no compassion, that he defended his strategy on ISIS that has been an abject failure because there is no strategy, and I think he'd readily admit that. It really makes me sad for my country, and the fact that Russ Feingold is now kind of trying to, again, hypnotize Wisconsin into thinking that he is this hawk after 18 years of voting records tell us the exact opposite.
Chris Martin of Wisconsin Alliance for Reform, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you.